Welcome back to Built Fabrications. Today we're going to be installing the new seats into the Monte Carlo and talking about what we've got, why I like it, and maybe why you shouldn't get it. Over here to the right, your left, we have the original rear seat that was in the back of the Monte Carlo. If you have not been following along, it was pimp red. If you have been following along, it was still pimp red. So anyways, what I did was I got these reupholstered. I got the reupholstery kit from Speedway Motors. So far, pretty happy with everything. Took it to a local upholstery shop and they added a little bit of foam and just went through them and got them recovered for me. No real talk or anything about that. So this the intro's done, indictment on these. I want to talk about these seats here. Well, this seat and the other one that's still in the box. These are the ralleye seats from Procar, which is a sub company or sister company, whatever you want to call it, for Skat Industries. And man, first I want to talk about what I like about these seats. I really like I like most of everything about the seats themselves, to be honest. They're pretty comfortable. They've got really nice bolstering to them. One thing that I really like about them is that they took the original design of the factory bucket seats and they enhanced it, but didn't, make them super funky, fancy. There's a lot of really nice seats out there, but it's hard to find somewhat factory original looking where you have that in this seat with kind of the shape of the headrest to a degree, but especially the way that the upholstery is stitched. I think it looks very nice. Overall, I'd say the quality of the seat is pretty good. Like I said, it's nice and comfortable. Tight bolstering, so if you're a little wide in the shorts, maybe this wouldn't be the best seat for you. But you decide that on your own. So you might be asking, well, hell, everything you said so far was all positive stuff, which is absolutely true. Why did I say you might not want to buy them? Well, I'll give you guys the short version, try to anyways. I originally purchased these seats, ordered these seats and paid for them. It took me about 7 months to get them. I initially ordered them in August of 24. When I ordered them, they said in stock, ships in 4 days. Cool, great. Bought them. A few days later, I got an email saying that it was going to get pushed back, I think about a month. It's like, okay, it's inconvenient, but whatever. Well, that turned into a 7-month-long process of hassles and nightmare of phone calls and checking in and all sorts of stuff to finally get these seats, which I got then little by little. I got the actual seats themselves, I think, November-ish, but just the seats themselves, but I did not get the mounting brackets, which I have here in this box. I got one in December, I think it was, and then I got the other one eventually in February sometime. Major inconvenience, a pain, but that's not even really the worst part. It is frustrating, don't get me wrong, but what really, gets under my skin about the whole situation was Skat or Procar, or I don't know how affiliated they are. They were honestly, it's probably the worst customer service that I've ever had experienced. It was nonstop, lies, attitudes. They were not helpful. They were not friendly at all about the situation and could care less. And it was very frustrating. I didn't lose my cool on them. I was very respectful the whole time. I wasn't a Karen, but yeah, they honestly sucked, and enough that I don't know that I would buy these seats again. Okay, we are going to start by installing the backrest for the rear seat. The rear seat is very easy, and I'm going to say that and run into some never before seen problem, but it's usually very easy to put in. You have 3 clips here that it hooks down, the top hooks into, and then you're supposed to have 2 bolts. I just have the one. We're gonna run it for now. It's got a big washer, supposed to anyways, and then it screws down on the bottom. So let's get this sucker dropped on. Okay, I can't find the rear seat belts, so we're gonna not put those in right now. I'll have to order some or keep looking. Probably just order some. Maybe I just won't run them. I'll probably order them. Anyways, I found the other bolt though, so we'll put that in. That's a plus. So same thing, but on the other side. I'm gonna get this on, and then you just tighten down these two bolts on the bottom. And that's all you have. Then the bottom seat just clips in. I'll show you that here in a second. Oh hey, bench seat's in. So you just slide it in. It's a little bit tricky, can be tricky to get the bottom bar of the seat to align, but there's a clip kind of like this. You need to get the bar to go down and then clip back. Okay, brakes over. Let's get the fronts installed. Pretty comfy. Okay, so I put the bracket in here just to mock it up. For these, you do have a front and a rear, so just see, you're gonna use 2 of your factory holes if you're going from a bench seat, all 4 if you already have buckets and you're just putting these new buckets in. So I bolted in with the factory locations, and you have a little bit of play to move around, and then so you could just kind of align it, see where you want it to be. And then what I did was I just kind of tightened these down just a little bit to kind of hold it where I wanted it. Kind of get it straight with the steering wheel. You don't want to have your seat, you know, on an angle. So line it up, and then you could take a screwdriver, or in my case, I'm using a punch. If I can, yeah, here it is. Taking a punch, or a chisel rather, and I'm heating up the back side of it, putting it here, and just burning a clean hole through the carpet, and then I'll drill my 2 holes. Since I'm going from a bench to buckets, I only have those 2. And then you do need to use your own hardware, be it the factory or additional. I'm using grade 8, I believe 7/16. And yeah, washer top and bottom, do that front and rear, and then I'm keeping all the factory stuff on the other side. So I'm gonna line this up real quick, and then you also, this is a good time to pull any of the kinks or anything out of your carpet, because this is gonna hold it down. So it's gonna be, well, a holder for your carpet to keep it where you want it. Then you can open it up from there. Once you have that all tightened down, the next step is going to be to assemble the seat. Once you have that all tightened down, the next step is going to be to assemble the seat. So on the back side, or the underside rather, of the seat, you're going to need to add the sliders. So one's going to have the handle that's going to be facing forward towards the front of the seat, and then you'll have the one for the other side, and that will go like such. These little tabs face up, and that one looks pretty dang bent. That's not good. We'll address that when we get there. Anyways, to put these in, you need to open up the slider and move it forward and backwards. It's not hard, but it is a little tricky to do. Once you get it slid open enough to get one of the bolts in, you can go ahead and take the hardware that comes with it and set the tracks on. I would get it snug, but not all the way tight. That way you have a little bit of play to line up the other hole, but you do need to get it mostly all the way down, because if the head of the bolt's sticking up, the track, when you go to slide it the other way to access the other hole, it's gonna hit the bolt, so the bolt head. The next thing you want to do before you put on this other bracket is to put on your hook. This is your adjuster so that your sliders work off of the one handle. The more open end of the hook will go through this tab there, and then the other end will go through the second hole of this arm. And then you can go ahead and put this on. I have found it to be easier to start with the slotted holes in the track. One side slotted, the other one's not. For whatever reason, you know, it's a pretty snug fit, and you still kind of have to go out in on an angle just a little bit and then kind of work it, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. I did have the same problem with the other seat too. I did get the passenger seat in already. See, that's how that works. So now we're going to set these to the same position. Mine have 2 paint marks on them, which is helpful. So I'm going to use those. Alrighty, nice and square. Everything's tight. While this is out though, I do want to show you guys, hopefully, if I can get it lined up. You have 3 different slots, and these holes adjust how high or low the seat sits in the track. Well, whenever I put the passenger seat in, I noticed, or I found that one side wants to use the bottom holes and the other side wants to use the top, and that's because of the contour of the floor. On the outside towards the door, I believe, is higher. So the bracket is sitting kind of on an angle. So putting these, you know, top and bottom help to straighten and level the seat back out. Now we have the seat in the car. We can get it lined up in the bracket. And you have threaded holes on the front and back of the bracket that these bolts will go into. All right, we got our seat in. I had to adjust the bracket differently from the other side. The only other thing you have left to do after you get the bolts in though is to put on this little cover. You just have the one screw that goes right in there. And yeah, so let's take a look at our final product now. New door panels are looking good, and those seats are looking really good. Front and back. That's the flow I was talking about, the stitching. I like the way it flows with the stitching. You know, that's pretty much a factory stitch. And that is the those Procar seats. So I'm liking it. I'm loving it. So we have one more thing left to do though, and it has to do with this old gal right here, which first let's close the door. Let's really admire this. Just take it in. Between the new center console we put in with the shifter, if you haven't seen that yet, take a look at that video. All the seats. She's beaut. But this steering wheel's a bit of a sore thumb now compared to everything. So I've got a new one to install. This is our new steering wheel that we're going to be installing. It is pretty close to like the SS style for 1970. So we'll get this bad boy installed. We got the plate and the base and all that good stuff, all the hardware. So let's zip off the old one and then we'll get this one installed. Okay, so I got the old steering wheel off. I didn't show that because it was time consuming and not really important. Let me zoom this out a little bit. So I'm going to show you just putting the new one in. So first we're going to start with the base. This is our horn wiring. I'm not even going to hook it up right now just because I know it doesn't work. And we'll have to dig into the wiring to fix it. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Okay, once we have that pulled through, this base in particular has a notch for the bottom. And that lines up with the horn wiring. I'm going to put the phone down for just a minute to tap this on a little bit further. Next step from here is to take our nut and put that back on. This one in particular is 7/8. And then just zip it on with the impact. I'll pull it down, and then we'll put the horn spring back on, just so that we have it in there. All right, we'll leave the horn spring off for just a minute. Next thing to do is to put on this little piece here. That's for your horn, and your center emblem also will snap into it. And then you got the 3 screws that go in. In this case, it's going to be the, panhead. So I'm going to put these 3 in, and then I'll show you the next step. Once those screws are in, the next step is to put on the wheel itself and put those screws in. I actually had to pull these 3 screws out and put these ones in, or put the wheel on first, then these ones, then these 3 ones here, because they clip onto the, or hold down on these notches on the steering wheel. So now we should just have to route our wire. We'll put that spring back on and then snap our center emblem in, and this install is done. I was wrong twice. So these go on first, and then this whole plate and these screws go on top of that. So now we should just have the center emblem to do. We'll try to get this wire out of the way. I'm not sure if the spring's supposed to go in right now or not. Let's give it a shot. All done. Looking pretty good. And I can see the gauges a lot better. This shifter will be removed. I'm gonna just take a drift pin and punch out the pin that's in here, or a punch and knock out the roll pin or whatever, and that will come out. I have it in there now still, just in case I need to mess with the neutral safety switch or anything, and I need this to do that. Otherwise, you know, as soon as I get the okay for myself that it's good to go, that's going to be coming off, since we have the center console now. So here is our final product. Looking very, very good. I love the way that the steering wheel makes everything pop. I think it's got a good contrast. I like the red, white, and blue in the middle. And I like that it's a bigger wheel now. I can actually see the gauges better, and just it fits, it matches. Seats are looking great, a little dirty, still need to clean everything up, but I'm liking it. All right, guys, it's another late night in the shop, 2 a.m. again, but we're making progress, but I am cutting out for tonight. So thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully you like the interior. I'm loving it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, as always, plenty to come, plenty to do, and we'll be getting through it. So thank you guys all for watching. You guys get outside, get wrenched on something, piss off your neighbors, disappoint your mom. Until next time, keep on keeping on.